Hey, what's up everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Aleph, Daf 101 of Masechta Shabbos, and boy, do we have a Daf for you. If you are into Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid, 4 Amos, 10 Tfachim, 3 Tfachim, Lavud, Good Asik, Good Achis, well not Good Asik, just Good Achis, this is mamish the daf for you. So here we go. We're going to talk about. The Gemara begins by continuing our machlokas yesterday between Rav Huna on the one hand and Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna on the other hand, about how to extract water from the sea and bring it into your boat on Shabbos. Then we're going to talk about canoes, but not in the fun sense, in the can you carry in a canoe sense, or is it a Carmelist sense? Yep. Then we're going to talk about boats that are tied up. Can you carry between them? Can you make an Erev between them? Yeah, pretty exciting. Let's get started. Daf Kuf Amud Beis. Honestly, it's 3 lines after it gets wide on Daf Kuf Amud Beis. So it says, Amar le Rav Nachman, l'Rabba bar Avua. Okay. So Rav Nachman said to Rabba bar Avua, Rav Huna de Amar Motzi'eh Menaziz Kol Shu Memale. Okay. Now remember, who could tell me, what was Rav Huna's opinion yesterday? What are we even talking about, friends? What are we even talking about? We're talking about a boat, okay? A person is on a boat. Now, he's thirsty. So he figures, I have a good idea. I'm on a boat. I'm in water. Let me just stick a cup into the water, get something to drink, and drink it, right? However, there are some complications, which is that, well, you're in a boat. Boat is Rishus HaYachid. The sea that you're in is a Carmelist. So you can't, Midrabanan, you would not be allowed to transfer from the sea, which is a Carmelist, into the boat. So what do you do? So Rav Huna's suggestion was, what you could do is, well, the fact of the matter is that the sea is more than 10 tefachim deep, let's be honest, right? And because it's more than 10 tefachim deep, and the sea, which is a Carmelist, the bottom of the Carmelist is the bottom of the sea, and the bottom of the sea is more than 10 tefachim far away, which means that at the end of the day, practically speaking, any water that you're going to be drawing from the sea is more than 10 tefachim from the bottom of the sea, i.e. it's in a makom p'tur. You're really just taking from a makom p'tur into your Rishus HaYachid, and there's really no problem with that. And according to Rav Huna Milechatchila, you can even really just stick your cup right into the water and take it into the boat and drink from it. However, we do want to make some kind of recognition, so you don't end up just taking water that, so you don't end up saying, oh, I'm allowed to take water from the sea, from a Carmelist into a Rishus HaYachid, so therefore you use some kind of a stick, some kind of a rod, you attach your cup to the rod, and you fish for some water, and then you bring it into your boat and you drink it like that. Now, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna's opinion, on the other hand, was that you, what do you do? Who could tell me? What do you do? So, according to them, actually the 10 tefachim of the Carmelist, when it comes to the sea, actually begins on the surface of the sea, which means that if you would just stick your cup into the water, you'd mamish be taking water from a Carmelist. So what's their suggestion? Their suggestion is that you have some kind of... So I was translating it yesterday as a portable Rishus HaYachid, but today I'm kind of understanding it more as like building like a 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim space on the side of the boat. So what you do is on the side of the boat, you just kind of create like, I don't know, some kind of space that's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide. And then we'll say that those walls go down to the water, and it essentially is creating a Rishus HaYachid over there. And from there you can stick in your cup and pull out some water, and you're basically pulling it out of this Rishus HaYachid that you've created in the water. Okay? Then you're basically taking it from one Rishus HaYachid to another, into your boat, which is also Rishus HaYachid. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, so Rav Nachman is asking Rabba bar Avua, he's saying, so now, according to Rav Huna's opinion, that there's really nothing wrong with taking water from the sea and bringing it into your boat, because lemaise, you're going to be taking water out of a makom p'tur, okay? So, what happens in a situation where the sea is not 10 tfachim deep? Meaning, Rav Huna only works if you make the assumption that you're always going to be in an area that is more than 10 tfachim deep. But what if you're in an area that is not 10 tfachim deep? So you mamish will be taking water from a karmelis and bringing it into your boat, which is a shusayachid. That's a problem, right? So that's his kasha. So Amar Rav Nachman, the Rabbi Bar Avua, the Rav Huna, the Amar Motzi Aimenez is kolshu. So according to Rav Huna, who says that you just need to take a stick, attach a cup to it, and go fishing for some water, and it's no problem because that water you're going to be taking from a makom p'tur anyways, right? Umemale, and he fills up his cup. Zimnin deleka asara. But what about in instances where the water that you're in is not 10 tfachim deep? And your mamish going to be taking water from a karmelis and bringing it into the shusayachid with you. So Amalei, so Rabbi Bar Avua answered of Nachman, Gamrina de Sfina Malechas bepachas me'asare. So Rabbi Bar Avua says, look, lemaise, a sfina, this boat is a big boat. It's not a little kiddie boat. It's a big enough boat that it wouldn't be able to go in water that's less than 10 tefachim. Remember, 10 tefachim is what? A few feet deep. Maybe 3 feet deep. It's pretty shallow. So you're not going to have a boat traveling in such shallow waters. And therefore, lemaise, if he's in this boat, you can assume that it's going to be in water that is more than 10 tefachim deep, and therefore that's why Rav Huna can safely assume that any water that this fellow is taking out from the sea is going to be coming from a makom p'tur. V'amursha isla, but what about the prow of the boat? I just learned what a prow of a boat is. A prow of the boat is the front of the boat. That kind of meaning, so you have the hull. I learned what that is as well. So the hull of the boat is like the main area of the boat. But then you have the prow of the boat, which is the front, and it kind of extends further out. So what the Gemara is asking is that while the main part of the boat might not travel in water that is less than 10 tefachim deep, but what about the prow that extends in front of it? Maybe that will go in an area that is less than 10 tefachim deep. And if somebody would be hanging out on the prow and fishing for some water, so then he might end up taking water from, assuming that the water bites. But if he gets a catch, he might catch some water that is within 10 tefachim of. Sorry. All right, whatever. Right. Okay. Anyways, the water is not going to bite. You can assume he's going to get some water. So he's going to take his little fishing rod with his little cup at the end. He's going to immerse it in the water, get his water. Now the problem is that if he's doing that on the prow of the boat, well, maybe the prow is in an area that is less than 10 tefachim deep, and he'll be taking water from a karmelis, right? And then bringing it into the boat, and that'll be a problem. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So Rav Safra gashushe azle kama. Okay, Rav Safra says no, the way that they do it in the boats is you'll have people in front of the boats with long sticks, and they're gonna be poking around in the water to ensure that the boat is not going to be traveling in waters that are less than 10 tefachim deep, because it'll get stuck. So therefore, basically the point is you can assume that they're staying away from any waters that are less than 10 tefachim deep, because the boat will get stuck. And therefore, according to Rav Huna, you can safely assume that any water that you're taking out of the sea is going to be higher up than more than 10 tefachim from the bottom of the sea, and therefore it's a makom p'tur, and there's nothing to worry about. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak to Rav Chia bar Oven. Okay, so Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says to Rav Chia bar Oven. Now, Rav Chizda or Rav bar Rav Huna. What about according to Rav Chizda and Rav bar Rav Huna, who says that you basically create this little rishus hayachid, and that is where you're going to be drawing water from. The Amri Osa Makom Arba Umemale, that they say that you just make an area 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, and from there you fill up your water, and then bring it into the boat, but it's okay because it's entirely a rishus hayachid, one rishus hayachid to another rishus hayachid, no problem. So then shofchin didei hechi shedilu. But what about the refuse water, as Rashi says, maybe some water that you were using to wash cups and dishes? maybe water that you're using for the bathroom, right? Waters that, kind of dirty water. Now, how would you get rid of that water from the boat into the sea? Now, you can't just chuck it overboard, because then you would be transferring it from Rishus HaYachid to Carmelis. That's a problem. Now, the Gemara says, and if you're going to say, well, just pour it through your Rishus HaYachid thing that you created, right? You created this 4x4 area where you're going to be taking water from, so why don't you also just pour the dirty water in there? Well, me'isei lei. So, the problem with that would be that would be kind of disgusting. Right? I guess you're assuming that the boat is docked, is anchored, and you created this area that's your Rishus HaYachid, that's where you're going to be drawing water from. You're not going to want to pour dirty water there. I mean, even if the water is moving and it'll kind of move away, I guess even at least psychologically speaking, you don't want to be pouring the dirty water in the same place where you're getting your drinking water. So the Gemara answers, the shdilu adafna desfina. So the Gemara answers, okay, what you're going to do instead is this. Go anywhere on the boat that you want, and take this dirty water and just basically pour it down the side of the boat. So when you're pouring it on the side of the boat, well, the side of the boat is just the Rishus HaYachid. It's the boat. The boat is Rishus HaYachid. And then it'll trickle down into the water, which is a Carmelis, but you didn't do that. All you did was throw it against the side of the boat. Va'ika kocho. What about the fact that it's his kocho, it's his activity? Meaning, you can't just, do something, meaning the water is going to get to the Carmelis because of the activity that he did. So you can't just turn a blind eye and say, oh, I'm just going to throw it against the wall of the boat and walk away. Yeah, but by throwing it against the wall of the boat, necessarily this water is then going to flow down to the Carmelis, and it's going to go from Rishus HaYachid to a Carmelis. He's not allowed to be the source of that, scenario. He can't set up that situation where the water is going to necessarily, cause the situation where the water is necessarily going to go from the Rishus HaYachid to the Carmelis. So the Gemara answer is, Kocho b'Carmelis lo gazu. Oh, so this inyan of Kocho, of setting up the stage so that this Hotzah is going to happen from one Rishus to another, so it's not a big deal when it comes to Carmelis, which is only a din d'Rabbanan. So if you would have koach, if you would set up a situation where something is going to be transferred from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, that would be a problem. But from Rishus HaYachid to Carmelis, the Chacham don't make a gzeira. They don't go that far as to say, as you wouldn't be allowed to have koach in the context of a Carmelis, and therefore you would be able to just throw the water against the side of the boat, and even though it's going to trickle down into the Carmelis, that's okay, because he's not pouring it directly from the Rishus HaYachid to the Carmelis. He's just kind of throwing it against the side of the Rishus HaYachid, and it on its own, at that point, will then just rely on gravity to get to the Carmelis. And how do you know to say that they didn't make a gzeira about kocho when it comes to a Carmelis? Titania, as we learn in the Brisa, Sfina in metatzon lo mitocha layam v'lo min hayam l'tocha. Okay, a boat, we do not carry not from it to the sea and not from the sea to it, because of course it is a Rishus HaYachid, the sea is a Carmelis. So therefore we don't move anything from it, from the Rishus HaYachid to the sea, which is a Carmelis, and not from the sea, which is a Carmelis, into it, which is a Rishus HaYachid. Exciting stuff. Now, listen closely, friends. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Amuka Asara, Ven Gavoa Asara, Metalta Mitocha Liyam, Avalo, Minayam Lissocha. Okay. Listen up, friends. So now says Rabbi Yehuda, if the boat is Amuka Asara, if it is 10 tefachim deep, what does it mean it's 10 tefachim deep? It means the boat itself is 10 tefachim tall. That's what it means. Okay? So if the boat itself, has walls that are 10 tefachim, so it's Rishus HaYachid, okay? It's 10 tefachim. Ve'ein gavoa asara. However, it is in the water, okay? And it's submerged, because they're in the water, so it's submerged slightly in the water, okay? And the top of the walls of the boat are less than 10 tefachim above the surface of the water. You got that? They're in a boat whose walls are 10 tefachim tall, so it's a Rishus HaYachid. However, because the boat is in the water, it's submerged somewhat, and the top of the walls of the boat are less than 10 tefachim from the surface of the water. Which means that if you were to take water from the sea and bring it into the boat where you are, you would not have to lift it above 10 tefachim from the surface of the water. Because if you would, then you would be bringing it to a makom p'tur, right? Imagine if the walls of the boat were more than 10 tfachim from the surface of the water. Well then, if you wanted to get water from the sea, you would have to take the water from the sea, lift it above 10 tfachim from the surface of the sea, and then into your boat. Well, you would be bringing it from the sea, which is a carmelis, through a makom p'tur, when it goes above 10 tfachim, and then into the boat. And because, because it's going through a makom p'tur, it would be permitted, right? Because, for example, when we say that you're not allowed to throw something from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid, right? So imagine you have like a pillar that's 10 tefachim tall and it's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, and we say you're not allowed to throw something from Rishus HaRabim to this Rishus HaYachid, even though it's necessarily going to go through Makom P'tur. That's because you're going from one Rishus Mida Oraisa to another Rishus Mida Oraisa. However, in this case, the sea is a karmelis, which is only Mida Rabbanan, and therefore it would be permitted to transfer from a karmelis Mida Rabbanan to Rishus HaYachid if it's going to a makom p'tur. Therefore, in order for us to be able to say what we're saying, which is that you would not be allowed to draw water from the sea and bring it into your boat with you, it must be that you are transferring that water from the sea to your boat lower than 10 tefachim. Because again, if it was above 10 tefachim, you'd be taking it to a makom p'tur and it would be mutter. So it's within 10 tefachim from the surface of the sea, which means, so you have this boat. This boat has walls that are 10 tefachim tall. So therefore it makes the boat itself Rishus HaYachid. However, because the boat is in the water, it's submerged somewhat. And therefore we're saying that from the surface of the water to the top of the boat is less than 10 tefachim. And if you transfer water from the sea into the boat, you will be transferring from a karmelis to Rishus directly to Rishus HaYachid without going through a makom p'tur, and it would not be allowed. So, let's read that again. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, Amuka Asar, if you have a boat that is 10 tefachim deep, i.e., it has walls that are 10 tefachim, it's Rishus HaYachid. Ven Gavoa Asar, however, it is less than, the top of the boat is less than 10 tefachim from the surface of the water, of the sea. So you would be allowed, it would be permitted to move something from the boat into the sea. However, however, you would not be allowed to transfer something from the sea, from the karmelis, into the boat, which is a Rishus HaYachid. Now, the question is, how come you would not be allowed to transfer water from the sea into the boat? Well, it must be because you're transferring water from a karmelis, from the sea, into the boat, which is a Rishus HaYachid. And that's not allowed. So well, if you're transferring something from the boat overboard into the sea, so why is that allowed? It shouldn't be allowed because you're transferring from a Rishus HaYachid to karmelis. So So rather, what's the only way you can explain this? Why is it allowed to transfer something from within the boat to the sea, which is a karmelis? It must be because what you're doing is you're actually, taking, let's say, water or something, and you're splashing it against the side of the boat, and then the water now on its own is going to trickle down into the karmelis. And even though the source of this activity is coming from your action, from your, throwing the water splashing the water against the side of the boat, nonetheless, that's acceptable. Kochel bekarmelis lo gazrinan lo gazru. They did not make a decree, a gezerah, against employing your koach in transferring something from a Rishus HaYachid to a karmelis, or vice versa wouldn't really be relevant. But so while you would not be allowed to transfer this water directly from in the boat into the sea, however, you would be allowed to splash it against the side of the boat and then let it on its own trickle down to the sea, and that would be acceptable even though it's coming from your action. Zok the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, Hani bitsasa de meishon. Oh, if you have these little boats, canoes, canoes. You have epis, a canoe. Ein metaltalin boen ela be'arba. So you're only allowed to move in this canoe less than 4 amas. If you move more than 4 amas in this canoe, it's a problem because the canoe is a karmelis. It's not a Rishus HaYachid. The question is, how come? V'la'amaran ela she'ein bepachis mishlosha arba'a. when we say that you're not allowed to move 4 amis in this canoe, it's when within 3 tfachim of the bottom of the canoe, there isn't 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim. It's confusing, right? It's not that bad though. Especially after how far we've come, we can deal with this. Basically, remember, so this canoe, at the bottom of it, it comes to a point. Okay? It comes to a point at the bottom. Now, what Rav Huna is saying is, so at the point that it comes to at the bottom, obviously it's not 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim. It comes to a point. Now, not 3 tfachim, 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim. So now, what Rav Huna is saying is that remember, the first 3 tfachim from the bottom is important, right? Because, in order for it to be considered Rishus HaYachid, so it has to have a platform that is 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim. Now, because this canoe comes to a point at the bottom, it doesn't have 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim at the bottom, and therefore it can't be considered a Rishus HaYachid, it will be a Carmelis. However, if within the first 3 tfachim from the bottom of the canoe, it widens out to 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, well, at that point, we can, because of lavud, we can say we can basically consider that 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim to be the bottom of the canoe, and say that it is a Rishus HaYachid. However, if within the first 3 tfachim height from the bottom of the canoe, it does not reach a width of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, well then, it's going to be a Carmelis. Okay? So that's what Rav Huna is saying. So again, Amar Rav Huna, Hane Bitzasa Demeshan, these canoes, in Metatlin Ba'in, Ela Ba'arba, you can only move things less than 4 amas because they are a what's that thing called? Carmelis. And that's only when there does not exist in the first 3 tfachim of height from the bottom, arba'a, 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, a surface 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, aval. But if within the bottom 3 tfachim of the canoe, there is yesh b'pachos migimel arba'a, there are 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim width, well then leislan ba, well then, just ignore this because it's a Rishus HaYachid. Okay? V'malinu kane v'urbane. Now, even in a situation where within the first 3 tfachim of the height of the canoe, there is not a width of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, but you fill in the bottom of the canoe with reeds and with little aravis, willow branches, i.e. to fill in the bottom so that you get to a point where now the bottom, or at least within the first 3 tfachim from the bottom, there would be a width of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim. So then leislan ba, well then there's no problem, it will be a Rishus HaYachid, you can carry as much as your heart desires. Okay, fine. That was Rav Huna's opinion. Check this out, friends. Maskef Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman asked a kasha on Rav Huna, V'leimo good achas mechitzasa. What about good achas, friends? What about good achas? You guys know what good achas is? I think it's come up before. It's definitely come up before. But in case anybody may be a little fuzzy on it, I'll remind you what good achas is. Well, actually, Lamaisa, we had it yesterday, and today also, right? With that 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim little thing that he takes the water from, and that he's drawing the water from the sea from. Basically, good achas means that when you have a wall, you can consider that it continues down. And therefore, what Rav Nachman's asking is that when it comes to the canoe Lamaisa, so even if within the first 3 tfachim from the bottom of the canoe, it doesn't reach a width of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, but if as the walls, go up, it does reach a width of 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, well, then that should be all we need. And we should be able to say that from the wider points of the boat that are 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, we just say that the side of the boat, the walls of the boat, just go straight down to the bottom of the boat, straight down to the sea. And therefore, we should consider it as if the boat has a width of at least 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim, because from its widest point, let's just say that the walls go straight down to the water. That's what good achas is. That we assume that a wall continues down to the earth, or in this case, down to the sea. So, Maskef Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman has the kasha, V'leimu good achas mechitzasa. Let's say that the walls of the canoe, at their widest points, go straight down to the water, and even though within the first 3 tefachim of height of the canoe, there isn't a width of 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, but who cares? Because as long as at some point it has a width of 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, let's say that the walls of the canoe at that point go straight down to the water, and we have ourselves a canoe that is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, and you'll be able to carry as much as you want in that canoe because it's a Rishus HaYachid. Because after all, Milotanya, don't we have a brisa that says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, no, it's Canoes Rishus HaRabim. If you take a pole and you stick it into the ground, in Rishus HaRabim, Uvrosho Traskal, and on top of it is a basket. Okay, now this basket, it's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, okay, but it's not 10 tefachim tall. So the basket in it of itself is not a Rishus HaYachid. However, it is on top of a pole, and that pole is 10 tefachim tall. Okay, so now that pole is 10 tefachim tall. Okay, there's a basket on top of it. The basket is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, but it doesn't have a wall. It doesn't have walls. The walls of the basket are not 10 tefachim by 10 tefachim. So what we can say is that the walls of the basket go straight down to the ground. They follow the pole all the way down to the ground. And now we consider it as if the basket is its own Rishus HaYachid, because we say that the walls go straight down to the ground, and it's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, so we should say that it's its own Rishus HaYachid, right? So again, so Tanya Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no, it's Canoes Rishus HaRabim. If you take a pole that is 10 tefachim tall, and you stick it into the ground in Rishus HaRabim, Uvrosho Traskal, and on top of the pole is a basket. And the basket is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, but the walls of the basket are not 10 tefachim tall. Vizorak v'nochal gabav chayav, and you throw epis from Rishus HaRabim, and it lands in the basket, you're chayav for otzah from Rishus, or achnasa from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. Amar minun gud achas mechitzasa. So we see that we apply the rule of gud achas, that we say that the walls go straight down to the ground. And that's why this basket is a Rishus HaYachid, because it has walls that are 10 tefachim. So achinami, here also by our canoe, nema, gud achas mechitzasa. Let's say that the walls of the canoe go down to the surface of the water, and even though within 3 tefachim from the bottom, the width is not 4 tefachim, but from where the width is 4 tefachim, let's say the walls go down, and we have ourselves a Rishus HaYachid. Maskefla Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef has a problem with Rav Nachman's question, with Rav Nachman's desire to say, to apply gud achis to this boat. V'lo shmielu lahada amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav. But Rav Nachman, didn't you hear of that which Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav? Right? Now, of course, Rav Yehuda was Rav Yosef's Rebbe. Right? So Rav Yehuda was saying, so Rav Yosef was saying, well, of course, you know what my Rebbe, Rav Yehuda, said in the name of Rav. Now, of course, also Rav Nachman was a student of Rav as well. I believe he was. So anyways, so Rav Yehuda amar Rav, so umatu ba mishum Reb Chia, and some say, lemaise, it was Rabbi Chia, okay, v'tani Allah, that we teach about that brayso of a chacham potun. Oh. So Yosef says, 1 second, Nu Rav Nachman. Your whole kasha, your whole, basis for wanting to say gud achis, to say that the walls of this canoe will go down, and therefore it should be a Rishus HaYachid. Your whole basis for that is this brisa about this pole with a basket on it, that over there we seem to be saying gud achis mechitzasa, and you're chayav. But v'tani alav chacham potrin. But the Chachamim taught about that brisa that actually the Chachamim said that you're pater dartin, which would sound like we wouldn't say gud achis mechitzasa, and therefore Rav Nachman, we wouldn't say gud achis over here by the canoe either. Amalei Abaye, so of course Abaye says to Rav Yosef, V'ad lo tizbera. 1 second, Rav Yosef, you would not hold like Rav Nachman? You wouldn't agree that we would say gud achis over here? But we learn in a brayso. So Amud b'Rishus HaRabim, gavoa asar v'rachav dalet. If you have a pillar in Rishus HaRabim, and it's 10 tefachim tall, and it's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, ve'ein be'ikaro dalet. However, the bottom of the pillar is not 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim wide. It's less than that. V'yesh b'katzer shelo gimel. And the part of the pillar that is less than 4 tfachim wide is 3 tfachim tall. Kilu, right? V'yesh b'katzer shelo gimel. That its thinner area is 3 tfachim tall, i.e. in the first 3 tfachim of the pillar, it remains less than 4 tfachim wide. V'zarak v'nochal gabav, and a person throws that piece from Rishus Rabim and it lands on top of the pillar. Chayav. He's chayav for throwing something from Rishus Rabim into Rishus Yachid. But one second. Within the first 3 tfachim of this pillar, it's less than 4 by 4. So shouldn't it be considered a karmelis? Why should it be chayav a korban chatas? Amamrinon gurachas mechitzasa. So clearly we do say gurachas mechitzasa. The reason why you're chayav for throwing epis from Rishus Arabim and it lands on this pillar is because we treat the pillar as Rishus Hayachid, which means that the walls of this pillar go straight down to the ground, and we consider this to be something that is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide and 10 tefachim tall. Even though the bottom 3 tefachim of the pillar are less than 4 by 4. So we say gurachas mechitzasa. So achanami gurachas mechitzasa. And therefore, here also, by the canoe, we should say gurachas, like Rav Nachman wants to assert, and we should say that you'd be allowed to carry more than 4 amis in this boat, even though it's less than 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim within the first 3 tefachim of the height of the boat. And then Abai continues, midi iria. And by the way, that argument that you were making, Rav Yosef, when it came to the pole that was stuck into the ground with the basket on top, that the Chachamim said that you're going to be potter for throwing into that basket. Don't try to argue from there that we don't hold of the concept of gurachis. The reason why the Chachamim say, Darton, that you would be potter for throwing something from Rishus Rabim into that basket, it's not because they disagree with gurachis mechitzasa. They agree with gurachis. And guess what? They even say gurachis over there. They even say that when you have that basket on top of the pole, we would assume that the walls go down. But there's a technical problem. That by that pole, little goats would be able to, get into that invisible walled off area. Therefore, that kind of like, what's it called? Not exactly disqualifies it, but like, I forget the word, but, delegitimizes it. The point is, right, gurachis is kind of like shtickle magic, right? We're creating this imaginary wall that we're saying that this basket, quote unquote, wink wink, kind of, its walls go all the way down to Rishus Harabim, right? But if, this basket is on a pole, and goats can be able to get into that, so to speak, area that theoretically we have invisible walls going down, well, clearly, it's not a very good wall if goats can get in. Okay? And that is why the Chachamim say by this basket on the pole, that, we're not going to say that they're going to be potter for throwing something from Rishus Harabim and it lands in that basket, because the wall that goes down from that basket to Rishus Harabim, goats can get into that walled off area. It's not a real area. However, in the case of this canoe, it's in the water. No goats are going to get between the walls into our imaginary walled off space, and therefore, we would say good achis over here and say that you'd be allowed to carry in this boat because it's a Rishus Hayachid. But over here, because our boat is in the water, so in our imaginary walled off area that's more than 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, no goats would be able to get in there because it's in the water. Was that clear? I hope that was clear. So Abayi's argument that even the Chacham would agree, right, that we say good achas mechitza, however, it would have to be, as much as possible, legitimately walled off area. If goats can, freely roam to and from that imaginary walled off area, then it's not really a walled off area. but once it's in the water and no goats can get in, so then, we can go with good achis. Good achis is when the wall goes up, good achis is when the wall goes down. Such as here, the wall's going down to the ground. Amr le Rav Acha brei de Rav Acha le Rav Ashi. Kabisvina namia ika bikias dogim. Oh, so Rav Acha brei de Rav Acha says to Rav Ashi, he says, yeah, but here also fish can swim into our imaginary wall, in our imaginary walled off area. Amr le bikias dogim lo shmei bikia. So Rav Ashi says, yeah, but fish swimming into our walled off area is not really a breach that we're concerned about. Umna temra, and how do I know that, and from where am I going to say that we're not concerned about fish swimming into our walled off area? Deba mine Rabbi Tavla mirav, because Rabbi Tavla asked Rav, mechitza tluya, ma'ushatater b'churva. So let's say you're in Rosh Hashanah, and you see that there is some broken down building. And broken down buildings, they can have like walls that are meaning so some of the structure is intact, but you might have a wall that's part of it is collapsed, but maybe the top of it is still intact. So you want to say from the top, do we say good achis to say that it's considered a walled off area and you'd be able to carry things inside? Right? So mechitza tluya ma'u shetater b'churva. So if you have this wall of kind of a abandoned building and there's a breach in the wall, but there's some of the wall from the top, do we say that we would say good achis to say that you'd be allowed to carry in that churva? And Rav says we only say that mechitza tluya, we only say that this wall that's kind of suspended in the air would be considered a wall when it comes to the water, when something is suspended over water. It's a kula that the chacham were making when it comes to mayim. But if it was on a building, we wouldn't say good achis in that context to allow you to carry inside this churva. We would say that it's considered part of Rosh Hashanah. Ve'amai, what's the big deal? How come you're allowed to? Why do we say good achis when it comes to water? Ha'ika bikias dagim, but fish can get dartin. Ella shma mina bikias dagim lo shma bikia. That fish breaching our imaginary wall is not of concern. Friends, let's move on. Sfinis kshuris chule. So if you have boats that are tied to one another, you would be permitted to transfer things from one boat to the other. Now the Gemara says pshita. That's obvious. So now the Gemara right now, I believe, is assuming that the same fellow owns both boats. Okay, and therefore, if the same fellow, let's call him Reuven owns both boats, well then, and they're tied together, well then obviously you can move things from one boat to the other. So Amarava lo nitzcha el lahater bitzis shebeneim. So Rava says that the chiddush of the Mishnah is to say that even if you want to transfer, this fellow, Reuven, wants to transfer items from his first boat to his second boat by way of some other little boat, some canoe little thing, and that canoe is not tied to anything, it's just free. So you would be allowed to transfer from the first boat to the second boat using this little canoe thing, even though it's not secured to anything. Now listen to what Rav Safra says to Rava. Moshe, Shapir Ka'amart. Moshe, do you really think that you're giving a good answer? So now Rabbi Nachman Mibreslav. So he learns here somewhere in the Likutei Moharan. I don't remember. I could probably find it somewhere. It's probably in one of the first 10 or something. I can't remember it exactly. But he says that Talmidei Chacham call each other Moshe, and he brings a raya from this Gemara. He says, Moshe, Shapir Kamat. So we see that Rav Safra was calling Rava Moshe, right? And Rashi says, Moshe, Klomar, Rabbeinu Bedoro, K'Moshe Bedoro, that our teacher, Rava, in this generation is like Moshe was in that generation. Very cool. So anyways, Rav Safra says to Rava, he says, Moshe, do you really think that you're giving a good answer? If a Mishnah doesn't say anything about transferring by way of canoes. A Mishnah talks about transferring from one boat to another boat directly. And the Gemara is asking, isn't it obvious that if Reuven owns both boats and they're tied together, obviously he can transfer from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah. What's the concern? So Ela Amar Rav Safra lo nitzcha ela la'arev u'letalto mizalazo. So Rav Safra says no, it's talking about where both boats are not owned by the same person. One boat is owned by Reuven, one boat is owned by Shimon, and they're tied together. And we're saying that because they're tied together, they can make an eruv. They could join together the two Rishus HaYachids and allow transferring from one to the other, even though it's in the water, which is a karmelis. Uchdetanen, as we learn in the Brisa, Svinis Kshuris, if you have boats that are tied to one another, Zo bazo, Me'arvin u'metaltel mizo lazo, so you can make an eruv, you can join together the two boats, and then you can carry from one to the other. Nifsiku, if the rope that is tying the two boats together breaks, well then ne'esru, then you can no longer transfer items from one to the other. Chazru v'nikshru, if somehow they got retied to each other on Shabbos, bein shogin ve'in mezidin, whether the retying happened by accident, whether it happened on purpose, bein anusin, whether it happened like against your will, bein mutin, whether there was some kind of other mistake that enabled them to get retied. Chazru l'ter rishon. Basically, if they get retied, no matter how they got retied, so then you can resume carrying from one to the other. Now, continues the Brisa, v'chein machzalos aprusos. If you have in Rishus HaRabim reed mats that are just spread out and create these little hut areas, like makeshift kind of Rishus HaYachids. So ma'arvin u'metaltel mizo lazo. So you would be allowed to make eruvs between these little cordoned off areas and carry between them, no problem. Niglalu, but if these mats got rolled up somehow, i.e. the walls went away, well then ne'esru, then you wouldn't be allowed to carry anymore between these different areas. Chazu v'nifashu, but if they then got re-spread out, i.e. the walls then got re-affixed, ben shogun, ben mezidin, ben anusin, ben muatan, chazu l'ter rishon, whether no matter how these walls got re-affixed, you would be allowed to continue transferring from one of the, from the different Rishus HaYachids because you made an eruv in advance. Because any mechitza that was created on Shabbos, whether on purpose, whether by accident, it's nonetheless considered a mechitza, and you would be allowed to carry between them and inside of them, etc. Ini, is this really true that you would be able to use these these areas once the mats got rolled up and then rolled back down? When we say that they're considered walls, that's only like lechumra, to say that if somebody throws from Rishus HaRabim into them, then you'll be chayiv. But you wouldn't be allowed to carry in them, and certainly not in between them. So Kidma Rav Nachman amazed it. When Rav Nachman said that these walls, it's only considered walls to say that you're chayiv if you throw something into there, but you wouldn't be allowed to carry in them or carry between them. That is only if you reconstructed the walls on purpose. But if it was by accident, then no problem. So remember, we were in Rishus HaRabim. We had these walls, these makeshift reed walls that cordoned off these little Rishus HaYachid areas. So we say you can make an eruv and then you can carry between these little Rishus HaYachids. If the walls get rolled up, well then the eruv goes away and you can't carry, certainly not between the areas, but likely not even in those other areas, within the areas, because there are no walls anymore, so it's not Rishus HaYachid. If the walls then get reaffixed, they get rolled down again, and now you have walls again, so then you can rely once again on that eruv, and you can carry in these places, between the places, no problem. So what did we see? So we saw that if you have these boats, two boats, and they're tied to one another, and they're owned separate by two different people, so then they can make an eruv to allow them to carry each other, and that's what the chiddush of the Mishnah is. Amr Shmuel, says Shmuel, Ba'afilu kshuris b'chut hasarba, and says Shmuel, when we say that they are tied together, you can carry between them, it's even if they're simply tied with a thread that, some kind of a string that you use to close the neck of your shirt. Now what exactly is this sarbal? Well, if the sarbal is strong enough to be able to hold the two boats together, well then obviously you can carry from one to another, because it's a strong enough rope that's tying them together. So, but if this sarbal is not strong enough to hold these two boats together, well then then why would you be allowed to carry between them? They're not, considered tied together properly. So really, it's talking about where the sarbal is strong enough to be able to hold the two boats together. Ushmuel, and what's Shmuel telling us? Shmuel is just coming to basically protect himself or to respond to a different opinion that he has. Now, what's this other opinion that he has? Here's the other opinion that he has in the Maaseh. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, where's this Mishnah? In Oilos. Mishnah in Oilos. Great. Nu, kasher b'davar ha'maymida mevila tuma b'davar she'en maymida ein mevila tuma. V'amashmua v'ushekshua b'shalshel shabarzel. Nu, what's this talking about? This is talking about the following situation. So, of course, we know that a mace is an avi avos atuma, right? Of course, once already we're talking about Erevin and all these complicated things about, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, and Carmelis. We may as well throw tumas hameis in there, get a little bit of tumas and tara. Why not? Just kind of the cherry on top to kind of finish off the daf. So you have a mace. A mace is an avi avos atuma. Now, of course, if somebody touches a mace, that person becomes an avatuma. Now, it's not just if somebody touches the mace, it's also if somebody is in the same building that the mace is in. So he's in an oel, a mace will also become an avatuma. Great. So now, listen up to this. Here's a new thing that we actually haven't encountered before. Something called cherev areu kuchalo. This is a halacha that I learned in Camp Moresh HaKolel. I once mentioned Camp Moresh HaKolel with Isaac Lebwell. So, that was a story about a jury duty and grama. This is a halacha I learned on a Thursday night in Camp Moresh. What parsha was it? It's possible it's Parshas Chukas? Maybe, because we're talking about Tumah. Anyways, Rabbi Sobolovsky, he gave a shir on Thursday night. He was talking about Cherev Areu Kuchalo, Sof Tu Malatzes. Exciting stuff. In any event, I remembered it somehow. So, I remember a few things. Anyways, I digress. To get back on topic, so what is Cherev Areu Kuchalo? So what that means is that if you take, a mace is an avi avos atuma. Now if you take a sword and touch it to the mace, well guess what? The sword does not become an avatuma. It becomes an avi avos atuma just like the mace itself. Okay? So the mace is an avi avos atuma. If metal touches the mace, so the metal becomes an avi avos atuma just like the mace itself. Cherev areu kechalo. The sword is just like the corpse. It's an avi avos atuma. So, what the case is in this Mishnah is that you have a mace. A mace is in a house. Okay? Now, this house is right next to the bank of the river. Now, you have a boat. And you are tying this boat to the house to anchor it. Okay? But there's more. Now, in this boat are a whole bunch of kalim, all sorts of stuff. Now, kalim, of course, can only become tameh from a avatuma. So now, you have a mace, the mace is in this house. You have this boat, you have a boat that is connected to, let's say, the balcony of the house, by a rope. So now, the rope is going to become tameh from the mace, because the rope is kind of connected to the house and is somehow in the house one way or another. The mace is also in the house. So by way of an oel mace, the rope becomes tameh as well. Now, if we just assume that it's a regular rope, that's not metal, it's just a regular rope, well then the regular rope is going to become an avatuma. The rope is tied to the boat is going to become a rishon latuma, but it ends there. It won't be able to be mitame the kalim in the boat because a rishon latuma cannot be mitame kalim. Only an avatuma can. However, if this rope was made out of metal, well, in that case, the tumas ha'oel will make the metal rope or chain an avi avos atuma, just like the mace itself. And because the chain is connected to the boat will become an avatuma, and then the avatuma will be matami all of the contents of the boat, all of the kalim in the boat. So now let's take a look at the Gemara. So the Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, kasher b'davar ha'maymida, and we're going to explain what this means, but if you tie the boat to the house with a davar ma'amida, something that will hold the boat, and we're going to explain what that means, ein mevi la tuma. No, mevi la tuma. So in that case, it's going to make the vessels that are inside of the boat tameh. B'davar she'ein ma'amida, but if you tie the boat to the house with something that is not going to stand it, and again, we're going to define what this means, ein mevi la tuma, then it will not transfer, right? The boat will not be able to transfer tuma to its contents that are inside. But Amar Shmuel, and Shmuel defines v'ushak shura b'shalshel shel barzel. There you go. So when we say davar shema amida, and we say that it'll transfer tumah to the kalim inside, that's specifically a rope that's made out of iron, that's made out of metal. So in order for the kalim inside the boat to become tameh, the rope would need to be made out of metal, be a metal chain. So the metal chain itself is an aviyah vosa tumah, makes the boat an avatuma, makes the kalim inside in a rishon tumah. So now, the point that Shmuel is making is that even though his opinion, by the case of the Oel HaMeis, is that the boat, that the rope that the boat is tied with is a rope made out of metal chains, he does not say that. Don't think that he holds the same opinion regarding these two boats on Shabbos that are tied to one another to allow you to carry from one to another. No, even if it's just the string of your clothing, as long as it can hold the boats together, that's really all we need to enable transferring. So here we go. So Le'inyan Tumah, says the Gemara, Hu dichsev b'chalal chev, chev areu k'chalal. Specifically when it comes to Tumah, that's where Shmuel says that he requires a metal chain, because it says chalal chev. It says in the pasuk, of the discussing a person who was killed by a sword. So then we say chev areu k'chalal, that the sword is just like the corpse, in that if a sword or any metal touches a corpse, it becomes an aviyah avos tumah. So that's where Shmuel says that you require a metal chain. As long as the rope is able to keep the two boats connected to one another, then that would be enough to enable transferring, even if it's simply just a string that you use to tie the neck of your clothing. Friends, I think that was an okay daf. Let's do a review. So we started off with the machlokas between Rav Huna on the one hand and Rav Chizda and Rabba bar Rav Huna regarding how to extract water from the sea and bring it into your boat. The most interesting part of that was that according to Rav Chizda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, the way that you would remove the refuse would be that you would splash it against the side of the boat, and even if it then trickles down into the Carmelis, that would be no problem, because kochul b'Carmelis lo gazru. They did not make a gezerah against, let's say grama, or causing something to happen by way of his activity when it comes to transferring between a Carmelis, because that's only midrabanan anyways. Then we started talking about canoes. Rav Huna's opinion on a canoe is that a canoe, if it doesn't widen out to 4 tvachim by 4 tvachim within the first 3 tvachim of its height, well then you cannot carry more than 4 amos in it, because it's a Carmelis. Rav Nachman, however, argues, and he says, well, we should be able to say good achis to say that it is a rishus hayachid, and you would be allowed to carry in there. And he brings his proof from a pole that has a basket on the top, that we say that if you throw from rishus harabim into it, you'll be chayiv because of good achis. Now, to that, Rav Yosef argued, and he said, yeah, but the Chacham Lamaisa say over there that you would be potter, so it sounds like we wouldn't say good achis. So Abai says, no, of course we say good achas. The only reason why over there the Chacham say you're potter is because since goats can get into that imaginary walled off area, well, therefore it's not really a good wall. However, in the case of the canoe, where we would say good achas and there's no goats getting in there because it's in the water, then it would be fine. However, Rav Acha said to Rav Ashi, but what about the fish can get dartin? So the answer was that fish don't count. We're talking about boats that are tied to one another. Rava explained that the chiddush over there is that, so Ruvain owns both boats, but the point is that he's transferring by way of some smaller boat that isn't tied to anything else, and that's the chiddush. To which Rav Safra says, Moshe Shapir Ka'amart, calls Rava Moshe, says, do you really think that you're giving a good answer? The Mishnah didn't say anything about transferring by way of a boat, just transfer from one boat to the next. So rather he says that the chiddush is that it is talking about where the two boats are owned by two different people, and as long as they're tied together, you can make an eruv. At the end, we saw that Shmuel's opinion was that the string that connects the two boats can even just be a clothing string, not necessarily it doesn't have to be a big, strong metal chain, because that would only be by Tumas Oel. Over here, as long as they can stay connected, even if it's just a clothing string, that would be enough to allow you to carry between them, as long as there is an eruv. Friends, hope you enjoyed that. Have a great day. Peace out.